Hey YouTube, this is CJS064. I'm doing my first Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile on one of my own decks. I am going to make a few mistakes along the way, so leave some comments in the below. Let me know how I can try and improve my deck profiles. Today I'm going to do a deck profile on one of my favorite decks. It's Chaosworn, or Twilight as the people call it. Um, let's just get right into it. First off, the main card, 3 Judgment Dragons. Goes without saying. People argue that 2 may be sufficient because 3 might be inconsistent, but it's the heart and soul of the deck. I really think it works at 3. Then next we've got 2 Lumina. Very good card for Life Swan. Gets rid of all those dead cards in your hand like Wolf, Necrogardener, Plague Spreader, and even like dead Chaos Sources or BLSs if you have no graveyard. Also good to mill in phase. It gives you a lot of milling power so you can get your graveyard build up for Judgment Dragon. Next we have 2 Lilas, good spell trap destruction and also milling power as well. Also good target for Lumina to reborn, especially when you're going to go for those JD plays and they have 1 face down. Then we have 1 Gareth, good to get pluses off the Lice-Swarm mills to get the extra 2 mills, plus an extra +1/+2 if you mill a Lice-Swarm monster. Then we have 2 Jane, really good card for this format considering that you're going to go against a lot of decks that have 1800, 1900 beaters. Jane is particularly very good to get over those monsters. Then we have Aaron, good to bounce defenders like Spear Reaper, any form of defense monster that stalls, or even cards like Sandgate and Necrogardener when you go in mirror matches. Bounce them back to the deck so they can't get any sort of search power off that. Next we have only 1 Raikou. I really think 1's only sufficient just because in this format it can be really fast and sometimes 1 Raikou is not necessarily. Because you're only going to go through the deck so quickly, you may only need to have 1. Then we have 1 Wolf. I think 1 is sufficient because you don't want to be dead drawing these too many times. 3, you're really getting too lucky with the deck, relying on that so much. I really think 1 is sufficient for the deck. And 1 Celestia. Good to have in hand. If you have a Lice one that survives for a turn, tribute, destroy 2, mill 4, then you can go for a JD play after or a big play with that once you hit the back row. Next we have 1 Honest, really good for Lice-Swarm and any light deck in general. Basically, it whenever battles, it wins the battle. Then we have 3 Necrogardener. September 2012 ban list has finally made this back to 3. Really good card, especially with Lice-Swarm when you're milling a lot of cards in your deck. And especially when you're discarding it for cards like Lumina or Reincarnation. It's a really good card to have in your graveyard. Next we got Blackluster Soldier and 2 Chaos Sorcerer. Oh, sorry, 1 Chaos Sorcerer, sorry. Good to pretty much do the surprise attacks on your opponent and pretty much go for game, basically using the light and dark targets in your graveyard. And basically with the Lice-Swarm monsters milling a lot of the time, basically gives these guys more opportunity to come out more often. Then next we've got 1 Gauze and 2 Tragodia. Particularly like Gauze, when you have an empty field, they dark hole you because this deck runs no traps whatsoever. So Gauze can be a pretty good card. As well as Tragodia, with this deck, Tragodia can you can stall with it. I mean, if you have like 1 monster out, a handful of monsters, and you've got Tragodia, you can pretty much just keep Tragodia in the field, get field presence, keep him out as long as you need it, and then when you want to go for your plays, get rid of it, and then go for like Judgment Dragon or Chaos Sorcerer. Then we've got Plague Spreader Zombie. The tuner for the deck works in the hand or in the graveyard. Once in the graveyard, you can top deck a card to special summon it. Go for your Synchros, basically level 5, 6, 8, or 9. Then lastly, for the monster count, we've got 2 Card Troopers. Good for milling, good for drawing, works well with Tragodia. Also with Judgment Dragon, I guess if you set this card, you attack into it or destroy it, you draw a card. It's a good bluff when they think you're going to attack into a Raikou or a Necrogardener. They play like Dark Hole or use some sort of destruction effect to get rid of it. And altogether this is 26 monsters. Moving on now to the spells for the deck. 1 Charge of Light Brigade and 3 Solar Recharge. Essential for any Lice-Swarm deck in this format. You need to run these cards. Staples for the deck: Dark Hole, Pot of Avarice, Monster Reincarnation, Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, and for my case I'd say 2 MSTs, only because There are some decks that don't rely heavily on spell and traps, but there are a lot of decks like Heroes, Gravekeepers, Rabbits that do have a lot of back row, and when they negate your summons or you want to make a big play and you don't have a Lila or Celestia, this is just an extra card to help you out so you can pull those plays off. Pot of Avarice is actually an interesting card. This is a personal choice of mine. Pot of Avarice can be good late in game when you have all your good cards like Judgment Dragon, BLS, and Chaos Sorcerer in the graveyard. Basically, recycle them back into your deck, and especially when your deck's got low card count, it makes it all the better to draw into those big monsters for the finishing game. And also, if you've got like a dead field and you need to get some draw power out of your deck, you have exactly 5, go for Avarice, draw 2, and potentially go into game, or potentially get better field presence with that draw power. Then we have a Lure of Darkness. You've got 7 Darks in this deck, 3 Necrogardener, Chaos Sorcerer, 2 Dragodian, and a Gauze. Basically, if you have any dead Darks like a Chaos Sorcerer with no graveyard, or Necrogardener against removal, I guess this would be a good card to use to search for the draw power. 2 Pot of Duality. A lot of people argue this card because this deck is based around special summoning, and people say that this card would go against it. I really think it works well because there are, in some cases, times where you get dead hands, and you might need to search for something like a charge or a monster that you can summon, because you might have a dead hand, so to speak. So I really do think Pot of Duality works, especially when you don't want to special summon that turn, or you know you're not going to. It just gives you more chance to set up for your next turn or your big plays for OTK. And finally, we have Reinforcement of the Army. Search your warriors, Jane, Gareth, Aaron, 3 Necrogardeners. It's good because this deck has got altogether 7 warriors, so I mean, if you really don't need to use it, I mean, you could pitch it with Lumina, or you can set it as a bluff and then use it later on during the duel. But it's good because if you mill all your Lightsworn warriors, you can search for a Gardener, and then you can pitch for like Lumina's Effect or Reincarnation. But overall, I really think it's a good card, especially considering the amount of warriors in the deck. It works really well. Moving on now to the extra deck for this deck. We have 1 Levier the Sea Dragon, 1 number 17 Leviathan Dragon, 1 number 20 Giga Brilliant, a light target for BLS and Chaos Sorcerer, so if you have 2 Necrogardeners or 2 Luminers, you can go into it. It's really good. 1 Wind Up Zen Mains, 1 Heroic Champion Excalibur. I particularly like this one considering that you have like 4 level 4 warriors. You can basically use Luminous Effect to get 1 warrior out, summon the second one, and then go for Excalibur. Basically to get over beaters like The Shining, Mirror Match Judgment Dragons, Lagia, any sort of monster that will have a lot of attack points, even BLS, say for example. It's a good way to go for game, or even just to like get over other people's beaters. Maestro the Symphony Daijin, number 39 Utopia, and 1 Photon Papal Imperative. Really good cards, especially Photon Papal Imperative, good to get rid of cards like Spirit Reaper, Arcana Force the Fool, basically to force all those defenses into attack and to get over it. Even if they summon Gauze in defense mode, you can use this to switch it to attack and basically force a tie, which is good because it's very hard for level 4s to get around Gauze, and Photon Papal Imperative probably would be your best choice if they play Gauze in defense mode. Then for Synchros, these are the safe section. Next Synchros are 1 Allied Justice Catastar, 1 Gaia Knight. People argue this because, I mean, they don't think it's necessary, but it can help in situations where you just have a level 4, whether it's a Lila you just use the effect with. I guess you have that extra option to go for this guy here. It's a beta. I mean, I could obviously go for Tempest Magician, but this is an all-rounder synchro monster for level 6, so it works for pretty much anything. Then we have Black Rose Dragon. The only level 5s in this deck is Celestias or Tragodia if I copy level 5 in the graveyard, so I mean, I can use it, but it can be useful in some aspects, so I still have it anyway, just in case I could use it. Blow the field and go for a Judgment Dragon BLS play. 1 Scrap Dragon, Destruction, none need to explain. Stars Dragon, Thought Ruler Archfiend, particularly Thought Ruler Archfiend good for targeting decks like, sorry, not targeting decks, targeting cards such as Dimensional Prison, Fiendish Chain, Gemini Spark. Thought Ruler is pretty good also for life point recovery, so I guess in this case that Thought Ruler can be really good to get over cards and decks that are like stun or lockdown, such as heroes, rock stun, any form of card that would target whatsoever. So even Soul Taker as well, a lot of people are starting to use that now, so Thought Ruler would be a good card. And lastly, level 9 Mistworm, really good level 9 Mistworm, especially when you go Lumina, pitch Plague into a level 4 Lila, break and then top deck, go for Mistworm play, and then Judgment Dragon or BLS. It's a really good card to go for. Now for the side deck for this here, we have 2 DD Crows. DD Crow is good in Mirror Match, and in this format, I guess it's not so good against Insectors, but they're dead, so they no longer need to be worried about. But I guess decks like Heroes, where they try to use a Hero Blast or Miracle Fusion, you can use that against them. Like I said, Mirror Match Heroes. Dark World you can even use against. I mean, it won't stop their effects, but like you can kill the Gruffers when they're in the graveyard. Even just a few other decks that, like I said, that DD Crow. I really do think it's a good side deck though. Like, it's good because it's a dark target for your Blackluster Soldier and your Chaos Sorcerer, and also for your Allure of Darkness. So if it's a dead card, you can get rid of it. Then we have 2 Maxi. Obviously, to stop your spam special summon decks, wind-ups, Hieratics, Chaosworn in itself. Just other special summoning decks, you know, like Maxi can be really good. Even Aidance as well, which has become a lot more popular in this September 2012 format. Maxi can be good just to lock down for the turn, or even just to get some draw power should you need it. Then I have 2 Puppet Plants. Puppet Plant's good for particularly Heroes and 6Ms that I find very useful. Basically because you can take their level 4 Alias or Stratos or Kizan, summon your level 4 warrior and go for Excalibur, or you can steal their Shien, Synchro for a Plague Spreader, or tribute their monster for a Celestia. Basically, it's a good way to get control of the situation, especially when they have just an Alias with 4 back row and you steal a Puppet Plant. They don't want to use the Spark, but they may be forced to use it just to try and make sure that you don't get it, or they could save it for later. But either way, I find Puppet Plant good, especially when they go for like Absolute Zero or the Shining. You can steal it and attack the game with your other monsters. I think it's a really good card. 2 Thunder King Ryos, multi-purpose, excellent in this format. Prevents searching, negates summons. Basically, once you have this on field, it can actually stop people's plays. Thunder King has actually become really good in this format. I dare say that many decks in this format may even main 2 side the last one. But for Chaosworn, because it's a lot more special summoning and just OTK, I'll probably just side deck this card. The 3rd MST, obviously for Chaosworn hate decks like Gravekeepers and Removal. Any even potential lockdowns such as Skill Drain or anything, the 3rd MST would be more useful. 2 Compulsory Evacuation Device. Offensive, defensive. I mean, this format, no being no priority. I mean, if you special JD and they go Bottomless Trap Hole, I guess you can use this to protect your Judgment Dragon, or go the other way and like kill their Exceeds like Zamains, or kill the fusions like the Shining. Basically, it's a good card to pretty much counteract. In some cases it can be good, but in some cases it can be dead. It works either way. It can help you in some cases. I would say more of the time it can help you. I really do think Compulsory is a good card for this format. 2 Malevolent Catastrophes. So your opponent attacks, blow spell trap card. It's a good heavy storm. It takes everyone by surprise, and especially when they're not expecting this card in game 2, game 3, and they set back row such as Rabbits, Heroes, 6am, Dark World, and even Gravekeepers. They attack, you activate this. Most of the time, I mean, if they're lucky, they might have a slight row to counteract it, but if not, they might have to be forced to summon Judgment. It's a really good card because not many people expect you to side it. And lastly, Raw Decree. 2 Raw Decree. So, again, to counteract that, you can use both Malevolent Catastrophe with Raw Decree. Go both hand in hand. So if you don't have Malevolent Catastrophe, you can go for Raw Decree. Or if you don't have Raw Decree, have the Malevolent Catastrophe and go off with that. Alright, well that is my deck profile for Chaosworn. Leave your comments in the section below. Subscribe. Give me any pointers to make my deck profiles even better. Thanks a lot for watching. This is CJS064 over and out.